Welcome, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Calling Podcast. I'm your host, Scott Jones, coming to you right here from Sober Life Studios and brought to you by, of course, your friends at One Brother, One Sister. One Brother, One Sister, dedicated to helping first responders, veterans, the bail industry, just a whole lot of people, and bring them as much training information as possible to deal with trauma, PTSD, mental wellness, and, of course, addictions. That's what we're here about. If you want to know more information about us, go to onebrother1sister.com. And if you got a few moments, take a moment and donate, because every donation you give us allows us to reach a little bit further and help a few more people. Again, to go to onebrother1sister.com. Besides that, watch the show, sit back and enjoy it. Make sure you leave your comments, because we see those comments and we want to know what you're thinking. And we also want to know your questions so that we can answer them on our following shows. And also, don't forget to subscribe and share this with your friends. I've got a great guy with us. This is a guy I met, maybe 6 years ago, somewhere around that range. And he was involved with the bail industry. We were just getting involved with working with bail agents, bounty hunters, and all the other people in the bail industry. And this guy is now the president of PBUS, which is the largest bail industry association that there is. And he's got a lot to share with us. This is David Stuckman, and David is from I'm not sure if you're there now, but from Kansas, right?
Yes, from Manhattan, Kansas.
Manhattan,
Little Apple.
It's the other Manhattan.
Little Apple.
Now, I know you're busy putting together a big conference for the bail. Have you been spending time it's in Mobile, Alabama? Have you been spending time there trying to put it together?
No. We're not on site. We're just doing it from afar.
Well, that's good.
Yeah,
that's good. Modern technology does have some advantages, does it not?
Yes,
right?
It does.
So tell me, first of all, David, a little bit about you. Was this like something you wanted to do since you were a kid, go into the bail business or something? Or how did this come about for you?
I was an insurance agent, and I got a divorce. My wife moved to Manhattan. I was living in Dodge City, Kansas. So I told the insurance company, well, I'm moving to Manhattan to be closer to my kids. And the insurance company said, well, we don't have an agency open there, but we do have an investigator that we need. And I was doing investigations for the insurance company, which was under a bondsman by the name of Walt Gatchie. So I was his investigator. Then I was his bounty hunter. And then from that, I bought him out of his GA, and I'm the general agent for Kansas for an insurance company. So I have agents all over the state of Kansas.
Wow. Now, we were talking beforehand, and bail was a hot topic not that long ago. Maybe 4 years ago, it was really kind of a hot topic for people. And maybe it's always been there, but the general public started hearing things about bail reform. States talked about dropping bail and doing different things. And then all of a sudden, it just seems like the last 3 years, nobody's talked about it. Is this still something that's going on? Is bail still trying to just save its own existence or adapt and change? Or tell me what's going on between you guys and the government.
Well, we're always in a battle. We are always in a battle with bail reform or new ideas. There's little bitty battles locally, state, and then federal and everything. If it's at the state level or local, it's a new county attorney gets elected and he has a new way of doing things, and we have to re-educate those people. We're constantly educating lobbyists or legislative people. Matter of fact, our convention in PBS, we're getting all the lobbyists nationwide to come down to share ideas, network, and possibly make some bill resolution of ideas of new bills that we can to protect our profession.
Absolutely. One of the words that came out, it was a trip for me. They said bail reform.
Yes.
Now, as a human being who took English, I hear the word reform and it means to make a change. But what they were really talking about back then was bail elimination.
Yes.
So, I mean, did that ever bother you? It's like, stop using that word reform. You're trying to get rid of us.
Well, it's constitutionally, you're right to have bail. So they have to word it, they have to do the play on words because you're always entitled to bail. And they're reforming it to the way they're going to reform it was to eliminate cash bail bondsmen. They were going to get rid of the bondsman as an individual that posts the bond and help the people out, because they always say bail is not affordable. Well, bondsmen help it to be affordable. If it's a $10,000 bail, not too many people can post $10,000 cash, and traditionally it's 10% to a bondsman. So we make it more affordable for people to get out, and we work with them. Sometimes we even have to take payments, which that's where we make it affordable. But they're just trying to totally get rid of the bondsman.
And what are they thinking? They're just going to have the courts actually do it themselves?
Yeah. Now, obviously, in the state of Illinois, they got rid of cash bail entirely. Either you're in jail or they let you out. There's no money at all. Not even $50 that they pay. There's no money at all, and that's going to be a disaster. Just hide and watch. It will not go well.
Well, I know there were states that took it away, then put it back because they realized it was a mess.
Yeah, they're coming back. Yes, they are coming back. That pendulum has swung way out here to the extreme to the left. Now it's coming back to the right. I don't mind if it just sits in the middle, but that's
exactly. I mean, I don't think anybody would mind if you sat down with pen and paper, said, how can we make it better? How can we make it easier for some people and who can't do it? That's what change and reform is supposed to be. It's not supposed to be, let's take it all away and have one answer and everybody will screw everybody else. And then we don't want to see that. But what are the advantages? I mean, for people who are not really sure, somebody gets bailed out. What are the advantages to having a bondsman, a private bondsman taking care of?
Well, there's a lot of things. The bondsman's going to make sure they make court. It's a three-way contract. It's a contract with the courts. It's a contract with the person that's guaranteeing the money in case the person does show up, because we get indemnitors or co-signers. And then it's a contract with the defendant to make sure he makes court. So in my office, we always send a reminder. You got court. Usually I send it out on Sunday. You got court on Tuesday or Wednesday. And because will forget. They just forget. And it's just that's probably one of the hardest things to do for a bondsman, is to make sure all their flock of defendants get to court. The reason people miss court, and that's what the courts haven't recognized, one of the main things that people miss court is it's a real simple thing. They just I don't care if it's a DUI or whatever, they get that, they lose their job because they had an incident. Okay. So now they got to go find a new job. And when they apply for the new job, they don't tell their new employer, well, I'm going to have court here 2 or 3 times, because they're afraid they will not get the job. So they forget to put that on the application. Then when they get their job, maybe in a different town, maybe in a different state, then they get their job and they're working and putting food on the table for their kids. Court date comes and they're afraid to ask off, because again, they're afraid that they're going to lose their job because they may be on probation or whatever with work. So there you go. They failed to appear. I've always been a promoter of they should have night court for those kind of cases, to where the Zoom calls with COVID was one of the good things there. That was a good thing. The bad thing is when it finally come time for them to come to court, when it was mandatory them to be in court, they wouldn't be there because they may have already went 4 states away or thousands of miles away, and then we have to go find those people. And that's the court.
I mean, there's a lot of things there.
A lot of work and
it's not always. I like the way you explain it, Dave, because it's not always the ones who are just running away from their troubles. Right. Sometimes it's just that people are so caught up in trying to get back on track that things fall away from them, and they lose their time, or they can't. Like you said, it's hard going to the new boss saying, I got to go to court today. That's a tough thing, it's good to have advocates like you out there saying things like, bring back the night courts and do those kind of things. Yeah. Do the things that make sense. Because not everybody that you deal with, let's get this one clear too. Not everybody you deal with is a hardened criminal.
That's right.
You got a lot of people that are just, they made a mistake or one judgment error or, an accident even. But that's most of the people you deal with. The hardened criminals are the kind of the minority, aren't they?
Yeah, those are the ones you really pay attention to. If you've got let me tell you what, when I bond out somebody that's aggravated, anything is a violent person. When you're aggravated, it's a felony. But when I hear aggravated battery, that means he had a weapon. Now it might have been a broomstick, whatever, but he had a weapon. So this guy's a fighter. So when I go to bond him out, I keep that in mind, because when I go to arrest him because he didn't go to court, I remember that this guy's a fighter. So we have to take different measures when we make the arrest. And those are the scary things bondsmen have to worry about, is making the arrest, because somebody can get hurt. Then you always got to worry about innocent bystanders or people. If he takes off running, if he jumps in a car and takes off running, he could run over somebody. So it's a real calculated risk when we make these arrests. Bondsmen, the beauty about a bondsman, if we make the arrest, we can pick and choose. I don't know how many times I've went into a crowded bar and found my defendant that skipped bond. I am not going to make that arrest in that bar. He's got friends there. That is the difference between a bondsman and a policeman. If the policemen walk in there and they see that defendant, they have to make the arrest. That's their duty. And that's unfortunate for the police, because then you've got a bigger problem if a fight breaks out. So yeah, we have to be very strategic in our arrests and make sure nobody gets in trouble or get hurt.
I think the representation too of how you guys operate and what you deal with on a day-to-day basis isn't really well known. We know, of course, you and I both know Dog the Bounty Hunter, and it was awesome entertainment to see his show and stuff like that. But that's not what you guys are doing every minute of every day. You're not chasing down the street. You're not breaking down doors. That's really kind of like the rarity compared to, it's almost like, I hate to say it, but talking to a lot of great bonds people, it sounds to me almost like you guys are doing almost more social work than you are anything else when you're working with these clients, right?
Sure. We when we bond them out, we have a long talk with them. I have 4 or 5 canned speeches, and I prepare the mom and dad. If it's a young son that's never really been in trouble before and he's done some bonehead thing, I said, okay, I want you there, Mom, Dad, I want you there. I'm going to have a talk with him. I'm going to tell him he's at the fork of the road, and at one fork of the road, he's going to prison, and he ain't going to make it in prison. Hey, he just ain't got the build for it. And he'll be somebody's girlfriend. And then the other one is straighten out your life. And I come down really hard. And who I try to get to cry first is Mom. And when Mom starts tearing up and crying, and I look in his eyes and tell if I'm getting through. If he starts crying too, he could be the biggest, meanest looking guy, but I just made his mama cry. And I tell him that. I say, hey, I didn't do this. Your mom loves you very much. She's not very proud of you right now, but she loves you, or she wouldn't be sitting in this room with us. And then I get through him, and then I can approach that way. And that usually sets the tone. Then I always say this too. I'll bet you're in trouble within 3 months. You're going to be back in this jail because you got an attitude. And I tell you what, if you stay out of trouble for 3 years and never get in trouble, I'll buy you the biggest steak in Manhattan, Kansas on me. And I have had many calls where they call, you owe me a steak dinner. I have never bought one of those steak dinners. You know who bought that steak dinner? Mom and Dad. They are thrilled that their son or daughter has not been in trouble. Because as soon as I get that phone call, usually I get the phone call from them before I get it from the defendant. But that's how bondsmen help in cutting down on recidivism. Lectures like that. And every bondsman does it. Dog does it. Everybody does it. We all do it in our own way and fashion. That just happens to be tailored to my personality.
Well, yeah, and that's what you got to work with, is who you are. And you play to your strengths, not to try to be somebody else.
Yeah.
But you do build these connections. First of all, I would not be giving away the biggest steak when you're in a state like Kansas. Kansas, I mean, that's steak. That is steak. I mean, that's, but you make real connections with these people too, don't you? I mean, it's almost impossible not to really start to care about them, and they almost become part of your extended family, if you're lucky enough to be able to help them, right?
That's right. Yeah. I've had many of them walk up and introduce me to their friends. This is my bondsman. And I'm thinking, you don't need to be doing it. But he's really helped me out, is what they're saying. He really helped me out on this and that. You know, we do it. You're in the intervention business. We do that a lot. I just had Karen help me get a guy in that had 3 DUIs in 2 weeks, and we didn't know why. And actually, the sad thing is he really is mentally sick. He really is mentally. He's actually not. He can't even remember his family members now. There's a sickness. But she helped me get him into rehab. He was a VA. He just didn't have any money. He was literally homeless, and he had a couple of friends that still believed in him. And we got him checked into there, and then they called me and says, yeah, he's never going to go to court because he may never get out of the hospital. And they took him out of the rehab center and checked him into another hospital. I meant to tell Karen that when I was talking to her the other day. She knows who, but she definitely was instrumental in getting that guy help. But 85% they say 85% of the people that are in jail or been arrested are mental problems. They have mental problems. Well, a lot of that mental problem is addiction to drugs and alcohol, and that's how they're labeling that. So as bondsmen, we have to recognize that. And we do a lot of, I get a lot of people information. I've actually got it in my briefcase, a list of all the treatment centers and try to help the families get them in there. A lot of times it's successful. Not always, you can't be 100%, but a lot of times I hear great success stories.
Absolutely. You're near 80%. You're absolutely right with people in prisons that are clinically diagnosed as either with an addiction or clinically diagnosed with a mental health condition. Not just, hey, you're batshit crazy. That's not what we're talking. We're talking about a real mental health condition. Yeah. Some sort of delusional behavior, schizophrenic behavior, something like that. So there's all of this stuff going on, and you've got good people who become addicted to substances, and then they commit crime as a part of that addiction. So you're constantly seeing people. I guess sometimes you must be looking at them saying, I know there's something better in there. I can see it, but unfortunately they usually can't see it. You might be able to see it, but they can't. But do you get that a lot where you see somebody and you're like, I know there's more?
Yes, you do. I had he wasn't a professional football player, but he was a college football player, and he got hurt and he got hooked on the pain pills. And unfortunately it took over his life. And he started out with the Percocets, but they finally took him off of that. And then he goes to the hard drugs, and you couldn't even recognize him. He was one of our better athletes here at K-State University years in the past. And I said, we got to get you help. We just got to get you help. And he literally, this guy, I'm a big person. I cast a big shadow. This guy made me look like a toothpick.
Really?
And still on drugs, which usually eats away at your body. And he was in tears. He said, I would do anything to get help. And please help me. And we did. Actually, the courts did. Talked to the district judge, and they said, if he'll do treatment, we'll get him in some treatment. And I don't know what happened to him because I didn't bond him out. I did not bond him out. The safest place for him was in jail, because if he'd have got out, I was afraid he'd just get back on the drugs. And we talked, and I said, I'll help you by leaving you in jail, and we'll find a different way. And I don't know what happened to him. I think he's still in treatment, truthfully.
A lot of the courts actually do want to see improvement more than they want to punish.
Yes.
Certainly if you do the crime, you do the time, or you've got to be responsible for it. Absolutely. Even though you're under the influence or you have a mental health condition, if you do a crime, there's responsibility you have to take. But a lot of courts want to see somebody go through a change. There's always a lot of time between the arrest and by the time you go to court. And if you take that time to make changes, the courts do pay attention to that, don't they?
Yes, they do. Matter of fact, I'm going to cheat and get on my phone here. We're in Mobile. We're actually having a judge who is a speaker her name is She's a judge. Jennifer Wright. She's the Mobile County District Judge, and she is part of the Drug Court and Mental Health Court. 10 years ago, they didn't have those kind of courts. Now they recognize. So now they're starting courts. We need more of those kind of courts to where that they can address that issue.
We do. That's Jennifer White, and this is going to be at the Mobile
Convention,
Alabama, the
July.
mid-year conference for PBUS.
Yes.
And this is really exciting. If you want more information about PBUS, by the way, I think it's pbus.com.
pbus.com. That's the website.
Please go to pbus.com and just learn a little bit, read a little bit, and see what's going on if you want to get involved or maybe you just have questions. But this conference, you're going to have a lot of great speakers.
Yes.
We're one brother, one sister. We're going to be there with trying to get some more information out there to everybody about mental health and addictions. You're going to have the judge there. You're going to have Leland is going to be there. You got a lot of good people coming out.
Yes.
And doing that and getting together. And all these people get together. First of all, it's kind of fun to get together. We all know that. It's always good. But there's also a lot of, hey, how are we going to be better next year? How were you guys, and I know this is really your drive here, David. How do we make Bale stronger and better next year? What are we going to do? What kind of things are you looking at about where do you need to go from here?
Well, obviously, we've got all the lobbyists from different state associations coming, and we're going to try to pass some, get the lobbyists to understand what the bondsmen want, and network will help there. But what we're really wanting to do is get some bills passed that will really help the public safety. One of our other speakers there is somebody about public safety from Mobile. I forgot their name.
Okay.
I just realized something. I'm looking on my monitor. Half my face is lit up and the other half isn't. I'm actually at my house and my window. But I don't want to shut the window. So this is my good side.
It's perfect. Don't worry about it, brother. This is just, we have our studio here and it's easy for us, but whatever. But, I'm looking forward to, this will be a big conference coming up for you guys.
It'll be good.
And how many members are in PBUS? Professional Bail Association of the United States.
What PBUS talks about, we represent over 10,000 bondsmen nationwide. I've got an email list of 10,000 bondsmen nationwide, but our membership is about 320 now. We've had a 20% increase of paying voting, and voting members. And those are the leaders of every aspect of the business. A lot of them are state presidents of associations, and some of them are insurance company owners. So we have a real good group of people there.
So each one of your members generally represents several other people or several other agencies. Yeah. And so that's how things go out there. Yeah. Well, what do they say? 5% of the people do 90% of the work. And we get that. That's just how the world works. But you guys have a good reputation. You do good work. Have you ever, with all this stuff it's a hard business, my friend. It is a hard business. You get your heart broken sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes you feel like the world's against you with them trying to, get rid of bond, for the private bondsman. Have you ever just wanted to say, you know what, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. What keeps you going?
Well, we know the bondsman. I'm proud to say I'm a bail bondsman. I help people. And that my daughter, who actually now I'm going to give her a plug. She's an AIM in Boulder, Colorado, and she's in the intervention treatment center there. It's called AIM, AIM, in Colorado and Boulder. And she never really understood what I did because I really said, I don't want my kids in this. And she said, Dad, I totally appreciate a bondsman now. I understand what you do. When people come up there and tell me, your dad really helped me, that's just a feeling you can't get rid of. When your daughter is so proud of you for being a bondsman, when she used to think, because she thought I was the devil because I knew everything she did in the town of Manhattan, because everybody would call me and said, I just saw your daughter. She skipped school she's in her yellow tracker and she's driving down points. And she'd say, I felt like everybody was watching me for you. And I couldn't go to parties because one of your defended people you bonded out would rat me out and tell me that I was at the party. and she, but now she's a grown woman. She's a psychologist. She's doing great things. And she really appreciates what I did, So that makes me feel good. And I will probably do it till the day I die.
Well, you do a service to the community. You certainly do. You help people when they're at their lowest moments. Sometimes you give them direction and hope and possibility. There's easier ways to make money, and you and I both know that there are easier ways to make money. I think people make this assumption, David. They hear, "Oh, you got $100,000 bond," and everybody says, "Oh, the bondsman just made $100,000." That is not how it works. That is not even close. No. You're not even making a portion of what they give you. I mean, as a small portion goes to you because you got to divvy it out. You got people you got to pay. Some of it's got to go here and there. So it's not about the money. It's got to be about you feel good about what you do and the difference that you're making. And without people like you in the neighborhoods and in our communities, there's no accountability for people that are out of jail. So we appreciate what you do, brother.
Well, thank you.
Every
bondsman thanks you.
What's that?
Every bail bondsman thanks you for that comment.
Well, we are right here at Sober Life Studios, One Brother, One Sister, which is me and Karen, pretty much. We will be starting our bail podcast that we'll be working with you and getting different guests on. And like once or twice a month, we'll be putting shows out to explain what's going on, to talk about the hot issues, and also just to humanize the work that you do. Because, like I said, they may think it's like Starsky and Hutch out there for you guys, but it's really a whole lot more like a social worker, having a cup of coffee with somebody. There's a lot more of that than people realize, and I want people to know that. David, I'm going to ask you, is there any personal stories that you could share of somebody without, you don't give any names or anything, but something that has stuck with you that has really, really changed how you feel about what you do?
Oh, wow. That's a loaded question. Well, sure. I've got stories, but probably there's good stories. There's bad stories. There's, stories when you come to make the arrest on somebody and tell them it's time to go to jail and they OD'd and died and you found the body. Those kind of stories, you don't want to hear those. They're sad or, they're sad. They always, people always talk about. I had one guy that he knew he was going to go away for a year. So he just got that one last high and just went over the edge. He did too much and OD'd. And by the time we got him to the hospital, he had died. But that was what it was, He just had to feel he had to have one more party by himself, I guess. And that's a bad story. That's the ones that really hit home when you come across that.
But what about the ones, David? What about the ones that really touch your heart? The ones where you're sitting in front of somebody thinking, I don't think there's any chance this person's ever going to turn their life around, and then they do. You got to have a lot of those stories too.
I do, and I do. A lot of times they come back and says, "Can I get a job being a bondsman?" And I have to break the news to them. Well, you're a felon, and felons can't be bondsmen in the state of Kansas. But
which is kind of funny if you think about it, because those would probably be the ones that would be best at doing it.
My good friend Dog is a felon. And then he says, I know better than anybody how that life is. I've been in prison. I've done this and that. And he gets to be that way. And I think a lot of people see that and they want to do that. But unfortunately, that's not true in Kansas. You can't do it here. But I've had one that came back, and it was a very young person when he got arrested. I didn't even recognize him when he come back. And out of the clear blue, he just gives me a big old hug. When a stranger hugs you, you're thinking, whoa, And I'm thinking, first of all, I thought, are we going to be in a tussle here or what? You know, and he said, I want to thank you. You've saved my life. And he actually was doing, he worked with the prisons when people get out of prison or going into prison. He also helps when they go into prison what to expect, which that's a scary thing when you're going in. And he has a service. And then he also, when they get out, he helped them find jobs. He helped them, get Social Security cards. And now the programs are coming. And his name is Randy Talbot. I've lost track of him because he moved out of the state of Kansas. I think he went to Colorado. But he's helping these people, and he's got a program that he helps them get Social Security cards. He helps them get jobs and everything. And I think that's phenomenal. And if he ever, I hope he listens to this, he'd give me a call. I'd appreciate it because I've lost track with him. But it was just the weirdest sensation when he hugged me and said, oh, man, I want to thank you. And it was in a restaurant. So that looked a little awkward too. And then I said, well, let's go outside and talk. We've made a spectacle of things here. Let's go outside and talk. We sit outside and talked for the longest time. And he was telling me his program. I told him I'd support him. He was actually traveling through town on I-70. Manhattan's on I-70 going to Colorado. He said, I pulled in Manhattan looking for you to find you, to tell you thank you. That is probably one of my better stories that I.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. How great. And it really validates the importance of what you do.
Yeah.
And as much as it is about the court and the bail and everything else, it's about people. It's about people. And it's about many people don't have to fall into that life any deeper than they already have. There's always ways out. And one of the things about PBUS and us working with you guys with One Brother, One Sister, it's always about finding other avenues to get help, finding ways so you don't have to fall into that life of crime. And you take that very seriously for your organization, is to go beyond just the bail and really help lives, right?
That's right. Yeah.
That's an important part of it. I want people to check it out. Go to pbus.com and find out what's going on. You have your big conference coming up. You got everything set? Are you still scrambling?
No, we're set. We're gonna.
You're set. You good?
We're set. We're good. Yeah, I'm going.
Yeah, you're actually.
Before I go to the Mobile one, there's a convention in Mississippi, so I'm going over to Biloxi there at the Golden Nugget and going to their state convention, and then just driving like 30 minutes to Mobile and going to our convention. But
oh wow!
So yeah, I'm excited to just get down and enjoy the coastline. I love the Gulf.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think as long as it's not hurricane time.
That's true.
It's a lot of fun to be there. And here's hoping that we have good weather for the event coming up, and then we have. I know there's going to be great people, and it's going to be good to see you and all the people out there. Yep. Any messages you want to say for anybody who's got questions about bail? Is there any place where you can get good answers about bail in their state and things like that?
We do have people that I don't really want you to call them PBS right now because Michelle's finishing up and getting ready to go. But you can email.
She's going to shoot you if you say call her.
yeah. Don't be calling her right now. She'd shoot me if she saw that I solicited that. But she does get a lot of calls. But if you send an email, we answer every email, and we do get some weird questions. Okay. I have a lot of phone calls that are sent my way by judges and attorneys. They'll ask, what can I do? I'm working right now I bonded out a gal. It was 6 years ago. Young gal, should not have been arrested, but she was a mule. Her boyfriend really was the drug dealer, but she was the one caught with the drugs, and she's getting out of prison now. And I'm helping her. She's filled out she's done good time. She's doing that. Me and her mom are filling out the form for her, and we've got her a job. There's a list of employers that employ felons. We've got her a job. We've got her a place to stay in Topeka, Kansas. When she gets out, that'll be another good feeling for me, knowing that I helped somebody, because they're just like a deer in the headlights. Just what do I do? But those are the good things that we like to do, help people.
Absolutely. One last question for you, brother, because I know sometimes parents are scrambling around trying to find an agent, a bail agent or a bail company or whatever it might be. because Johnny's in trouble or Mary's in trouble or somebody's in trouble, and they're and a lot of times they got offices near courthouses. It makes sense. Location, right? You go around the corner, but you got 6 places all lined up down the street.
Yeah.
Is there a way, or is there anything that indicates which places are better than others? Are there things they should look for without getting too deep into it? What should they be looking for if they're looking for a bail agent?
Well, we'd like for them to go to the PBUS website and find an agent, and it's on the website. That would be good.
And those are free to look up. Those are free to look up for anybody, right?
Absolutely. Okay. But what people are doing is they're Googling it. They just Google. There's phone apps. If you do pound 2245 pound bail, that'll get you a bail bondsman. It'll get you the closest bail bondsman, and that's an easy one. Usually, those guys have paid for that service, but people usually are frantic. They're on their cell phone. They don't know what to do. And first of all, I'm not going to suggest them to call me because I don't want to. There's lots of good bondsmen nationwide. We're all there. I always tell them, see how long they've been in the business. If they've been in the business 10 years or more, obviously they're successful and they're helping people. There's a lot of business. There's a lot of bondsmen that'll get in the business, think it's a quick buck, and then they really don't understand what they got to do. It's either too hard to do or they're in it to get as much money and get out. Because the minute somebody doesn't show up in court, they've got to pay that forfeiture, and they don't have the money to pay the forfeiture. They didn't do their business properly.
Right.
And we catch that all the time. That's one of the things when I get a phone call from the judge and says there's a bondsman that we can't find. He has a forfeiture. And I said, well, I can't tell you what to do, but I would try to collect that money elsewhere, to have it, just turn it over to a collection agency or whatever. I'm not going to share what they should do to do it, because I don't want an ugly image for the bail bond business.
Yeah.
I hate it when bondsmen sue bondsmen. When bondsmen sue bondsmen, they don't understand that just is an ugly image. And I don't like it when bondsmen go crying to the judge, that guy is a pedophile. That guy is this, and that. They're saying, when the judge hears you complain about another bondsman, what that judge is really hearing is all bondsmen are that way.
Absolutely.
So don't do that. That's my caution to any bondsman. Don't complain to the judge about a bondsman, because he thinks we're all that way when he hears you complain. And it's not his job to run off our business. Or our competitors, they'll weed themselves out.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the bad eggs, everybody pays attention to them.
Yes.
A bondsman or a bounty hunter or a bail agent, anybody in that position, they do something wrong, it's on the front page of every paper all over the country.
That's right.
You're in Topeka in the middle of, or you're like even out in, some city in Oregon that nobody's ever heard of, but you do something wrong, it's nationwide news.
Yes.
But nobody covers all the good things, and nobody covers all the good places, and nobody covers the places where the city just loves having them there, and the judges and the courts work with them beautifully. They don't cover that. So we've got to be careful. And I understand that, because working with the treatment industry, somebody does something wrong and everybody is up in arms, but there's so many people that are doing the good things too. So I think using PBUS for at least a search for bail agents is a good idea for bondsmen, and certainly look around, and I like that. See how long they've been in business. See if they're part of the Better Business Bureau. Whatever you want to do, but just don't panic and run into the first door. Make sure you just take a look for a minute. That's all. Yeah. David, any final thoughts, brother? You got a lot of work to do. I'm going to let you go.
I enjoyed being on your show.
Well, this is your show, my friend. And like I said, we're going to be starting our bail podcast so we can answer these kind of questions. You and I will talk at length about this, about having different people that we can bring in, answer questions, talk about the business, and maybe even tell people about the career path itself, because I know a lot of people want to do it, but maybe there's some things they need to know, so we'll take care of all that.
All right.
So, David, thank you very much for taking your time, brother.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Once again, we've been talking with David Stuckman, the president of the PBUS, and he's getting ready. He's got a couple of conferences coming up. Big one is the mid-year conference in Mobile, Alabama. One brother, one sister is going to be supporting that and be there. And we hope all of you can pay attention to what's going on in the bail industry in your town. Watch if things come up for votes. Just pay attention and think about what would happen without people like David in our communities. We need it. All right. For Scott Jones, One Brother, One Sister, and Sober Life Studios, this has been the Calling Podcast. Thanks for joining us. We'll catch you next time.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, all.